Good afternoon. My name is Megan, and my team and I are here today to discuss how to create a high-performing team. And now, here's Melissa to start with the presentation.
Thank you, Megan. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's our pleasure to talk to you about the barriers and best practices associated with building high-performance teams. But before my colleagues delve into those important topics, I want to lay the foundation by explaining the key factors that distinguish a team from a group. We'll also explore how building and deploying high-performance teams can help your organization succeed in a rapidly evolving business climate. According to John Katzenbach and Douglas Smith in their 2013 article, The Discipline of Teams, the word team is grossly misused as a motivational catchphrase for all groups. As we go through today's presentation, please keep in mind that while all teams are groups, not all groups are teams. In her book, Teaming: How Organizations Learn, Innovate, and Compete in the Knowledge Economy, Amy Edmondson explains the need for modern businesses to move away from the traditional top-down command and control management approach and move toward a teamwork model that helps companies overcome challenges by producing active, rapid learning results. Let's explore what that transition to a team-based group learning business model looks like. Here we have two crowds of people. On the surface, they look alike, but as we dig deeper, you'll see that how they function is what determines if they're a group or a team. The people on the left are what Edmondson calls a group. These are people who work in the same department. They rally around that department's mission. They may even share some common experiences and expectations, but they work in silos. Each person performs his or her tasks independently without giving much thought of how it influences, helps, or hinders the others. On the right is a team. These people come from different groups or departments, and they have diverse backgrounds and skill sets. What links them and makes them a team is their shared vision and purpose. Team members collaborate and work interdependently to achieve their shared goals. They join forces to share information, test approaches, and solve problems. The image on the left is a snapshot of how a traditional manager-dictated workflow might take place. The manager watches individual processes and makes sure that each person is doing their job effectively and efficiently. This work style may boost efficiency, but it hinders learning. Comparatively, the team approach on the right may seem more complicated and less efficient, but the long-term effects are worth the effort. According to the teaming expert, Amy Edmondson, this process of collective learning helps businesses rapidly identify issues, adapt to changes, and better meet customers' needs. Functional timeframes are another key distinction between groups and teams. In her 2019 article about the differences between group work and teamwork, Robin Fritz explains that groups are static and long-term. For instance, members of a work group, like a marketing department, are hired based on their skill and industry expertise, and they remain a permanent fixture in the marketing department with ongoing responsibilities as long as they are employed at the company. In contrast, teams are fluid and temporary because the focus is on finishing a project or solving a problem. Once the assigned tasks are complete and the project is finished, the team members disperse and return to their individual workgroup assignments. Since one of the key purposes of teamwork is to bring the most relevant talent on board to solve a problem as quickly as possible, Edmondson encourages leaders to choose team members carefully. You want to recruit a diverse group of people with a mix of complementary skills, expertise, and perspectives. Seek involvement from people who will work with each other, not against each other. Katzenbach and Smith say that above all else, performance results are the true distinction between a team and a group. In the end, teamwork comes down to attitude and behavior. Members of a work group may share information, perspectives, and insights, but their actions support individual performance and personal success over the best interest of the group. In contrast, the members of a team hold each other accountable for the team's performance. Teamwork is a group activity. The team will succeed or lose as a unit because it takes everyone to achieve a shared goal. Teams produce work that requires collaboration and commitment. Commitment not just to the shared purpose, but to the team itself. Edmondson says that when every member shares equally to produce meaningful work, it reinforces commitment and drives performance. Essentially, the key trait of a high-performance team is a shared frame of mind that focuses more on we and less about me. Thanks to the innovative power of effective teamwork, Katzenbach and Smith predict that teams will be the driving force of learning and change in high-performance organizations, so it's crucial for businesses to learn how to best harness the power of their teams. Now that you have a better understanding of the differences between teams and groups, I'm pleased to introduce you to my colleague Jason, who will continue the conversation by addressing the challenges of working in virtual teams.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, my name is Jason Lepkowitz, and I'm going to discuss the barriers and challenges encountered by virtual teams. Although they do afford some benefits, virtual teams also present challenges that leaders must be able to overcome. The list of barriers and challenges includes communication, collaboration, distance, technology, and cultural differences. Communication is critical whenever two or more people work together to accomplish a goal. Without communication, neither can be sure they even know what the goal is. In their 2007 article, Malhotra, Marchek, and Rosen point out that because communication is such an essential element for success, it has the potential to be a significant barrier to a virtual team. Electronic communication is not the same as face-to-face communications. In his 2014 article, Aya Meher stated that the primary means of communications for virtual teams is electronic. Farazi stated that electronic tools such as phone calls, text messages, emails, conference calls, and video conferencing are the way these teams communicate, and each has the potential to result in miscommunication. Therefore, leaders must be able to understand and respond correctly to unique communication challenges, such as discerning the reasoning behind electronic silence during a meeting, which could be the result of inattention, acquiescence, or simple contemplation. The second challenge virtual teams encounter, technology, is very closely tied to the first, because communication for virtual teams is so dependent on electronic means. Because there are still a significant number of people in the workforce who were older when the technological advances we enjoy today became popular, there are a large percentage of people who do not understand how to use technology as effectively as possible. An additional technological barrier is that technology is dependent on power supplies and other factors beyond the organization's control. Natural disasters, poor quality infrastructure, and sabotage can all produce a severe hardship for those who rely on technology. Collaboration is a process of two or more people working together to achieve a goal. Team members must be able to collaborate to be successful. Collaboration specialist Ken Blanchard demonstrates that to successfully collaborate, the members of the team must share inherent characteristics that will allow them to work well together. It's hard for members of virtual teams to determine if team members share those characteristics because they don't have the opportunity to spend much time together. A strength of a virtual team, the ability to pull together extremely talented people from a variety of locations, is also a potential barrier to successful collaboration. As renowned business culture expert Edward Schein explains, different specialists in a culture often feel that their role in the process is the most important, and they are entitled to all of the first of the resources. Hodge and Kozlowski, in their 2014 article on leading virtual teams, agree that such a sense of entitlement can result in a lack of successful collaboration. To lead a virtual team requires all the same skills necessary to run a face-to-face team, plus the additional ability to lead a team across time zones. There are some activities that leaders of face-to-face teams do, such as recognizing and rewarding good behavior and enforcing norms, that are challenges for virtual team leaders because of the distances. When a team consists of members from a variety of time zones, it's challenging for the leader to coordinate meetings and workflow. It's also a barrier when someone 4 hours away from their teammate needs information but must wait to coordinate. The final challenge distance creates for virtual team leaders is the hazard that the teammate may be called away by their local team to work on projects that will interfere with their ability to work on the virtual team's mission. The final challenge I will discuss is cultural differences. According to Dumitrescu, Lai, and Dobrescu in their 2014 article, Leading Multicultural Teams, cultural differences are created by a variety of factors including organizational affiliation, geographic regions, belief systems, and generational differences. Schein says cultural differences influence people's perception of time, the way they interact with leadership, the way they interact between genders, and even the way a successful day's business is defined. Cultural differences exist at all levels, even within the same organization. Cultural differences are significant barriers because they consist of closely held values and become essential to the existence of both people and organizations. In his 2014 interview with Schein, Cupper learned that changing culture should only be done when it's absolutely necessary for the success of the team. When people from different cultures come together to achieve a specific mission, it is essential everyone understands what to expect from one another. If members of a team assume that other members will act in a certain manner, and they don't, the team's efforts can be disrupted. The challenges caused by cultural differences can be so subtle that they are not recognized until they have become major, making success difficult. But don't lose hope. There are solutions for all these problems, and here to share some of those solutions with you is my teammate, Megan.
Thank you, Jason. So as a leader, what should you do to overcome these barriers? Many authors, such as Benjamin Kligler and Robert Lavisher, stresses the importance of leaders planning the initial face-to-face meeting when developing virtual teams. Meeting face-to-face builds a stronger foundation to becoming a high-performing team. Now that you have built that trust, encourage open discussion. As a leader, you need to make sure that the members are not excluded. Communicate with your team members frequently. Make sure they understand there is an open door policy. Place some reward system that will allow members to feel more encouraged to be open with you. According to Malhotra, Masterak, and Rosen, the initial face-to-face meetings and encouragement of openness are necessary for teams to build a stronger relationship. Kligler points out that the primary source of communication and relationship building for the virtual team is through emails. This form of communication can be challenging because you cannot read the writer's tone. Therefore, read the emails over from the receiver's viewpoint before sending it. Make sure that the emails are clear and you have included everyone. Of course, there are times when emails may cause more work than necessary. Therefore, picking up the phone and having a conference calls are the way to do it. Use technology wisely. It's there for you and your teams to use to keep the communication channel open. Collaboration. This is why initial face-to-face interactions are essential, because trust allows your team members to work together. So as a leader, what can you do to ensure your team members are collaborating? Establish a clear project mission. According to Lavisher, leaders must clearly define what the team is working towards, what they're building, and what they're accomplishing. If the team does not have a clear guidance from their leaders, how do you expect them to collaborate? Identify who is in your team. Lavisher stresses that leaders must make sure to select individuals who have personalities that complement one another. Do they have specific skill sets that the team will need? Great. But does that personality fit? Personality conflict will make the members not want to collaborate and start working independently, which will make the company production go down. Ina Toggle, in her 2017 article, stated that when leaders are developing the teams, it might be helpful to have a personality test to determine compatibility. Clarify individual roles. This aligns with giving your team a clear project mission and identifying who is on the team. Lavisher asks, if the members do not know who is on the team or what they're supposed to be doing, how do you expect them to work together in accomplishing a common goal? The important thing here is that the leader must be clear. Now, as a leader, what can you do to ensure that your team can continue performing while facing distance and cultural differences? Best suggestion, come together as a team. Edmondson states that while it may be complicated, face-to-face interactions are valuable. It allows the team members to socialize and build stronger trust. So not only is the initial face-to-face interactions meaningful, but continuous face-to-face meetings are necessary. Of course, the opportunity to meet face-to-face is limited. Gina Abdi, in her 2014 article, also suggests that the leaders must schedule team meetings that fits everyone's schedule. To do that, you must understand the time zone differences, especially if you live in a different country. Cultural diversity. Accept it. Cogite, Filtermeyer, and Kaplan-Akili in their 2015 article said it the best. We should become more culturally intelligent and open ourselves to cultural diversity. Take the time to communicate with the team members with different cultural backgrounds. Encourage members to find out what they have in common and learn each other's values. Abdi suggests offering cultural diversity training to help the members understand the cultural boundaries and to understand cultural differences. And now, here's Dan to discuss barriers that the face-to-face teams encounter.
As we look at the barriers and challenges encountered by face-to-face teams, it is important to note that although some of these may be similar to virtual teams, as described by Jason and Megan, the effects on face-to-face teams are different. Having said this, the barriers that affect face-to-face teams include a lack of vision for the organization, a lack of psychological safety for members of the organization, and cultures that discourage members of the organization from being candid and speaking up. Looking first to the importance of the vision, it is essential to understand the role of the vision in an organization, what the elements of the vision are, and how failing to communicate the vision to an organization can lead to confusion and a lack of buy-in from members of the organization. As discussed by Cotter, an effective vision is able to present an image of where the organization is going that works as a guide for members in their day-to-day activities. Without a proper vision, members and leaders will be unable to determine the best course of action related to the tasks that are assigned to them. A vision must also include the core ideology of the organization and a prediction of where the organization will be in the future. A vision that lacks either core ideology or a prediction of where the organization will be in 10 years or further can also act as a barrier. This is due to the importance of incorporating the values of the organization into the vision while motivating members to a goal that is distant and not easily achievable. Finally, a vision that is not well communicated will lead to confusion for members. making it easy to lose the urgency and buy-in from members needed in an organization. The next barrier that affects the performance of face-to-face teams is the level of psychological safety that exists for members within an organization. Psychological safety refers to how willing a member of an organization is to engage in teaming as a result of the environmental safety that exists in the organization. In other words, does culture create anxiety or a lack of motivation that inhibits performance, or does the culture encourage behaviors that minimize anxiety while increasing motivation? Edmondson has developed a set of categories that can help organizations to recognize barriers related to psychological safety. The first of these is the apathy zone, which is probably the worst zone to be in. Organizations such as these are low in accountability and psychological safety. The next two zones are more of the middle ground. The first of these is the comfort zone, where psychological safety is high, but there is little to no accountability. The opposite of this is the anxiety zone, where accountability is high, while psychological safety is low. Finally, the optimal zone to be in is the learning zone, where both accountability and psychological safety are high. By recognizing these zones, leaders are able to determine the psychological barriers affecting their organization and how to break through them. The final barrier that I will discuss relates to organizations that fail to encourage open and candid communication. Failing to allow members to communicate in an open manner will discourage members from taking a risk that can increase innovation and identify failures. There are several factors that can prevent members from speaking up. The first is the emotional reactions that lead to personal attacks. Due to the diversity of opinions that exist when teaming, it is easy for disagreement to occur. Oftentimes, this disagreement can become personal and lead to emotional responses that offend or silence members. It is important to recognize this barrier, as it can keep members from speaking up in the future. The second consideration for communication is when meetings and discussions fail to stay on task. Leaders who fail to provide focused agendas or allow for meetings that don't adhere to these agendas will fail to ensure that anything of significance is accomplished. This causes meetings to become disorganized and discourages meaningful exchanges that stay on topic. Recognizing these barriers is essential for maintaining an organization that is capable of coping with rapid evolution and innovative trends that accompany globalization. Failing to establish a vision creates a barrier that prevents an organization from seeing the bigger picture and working cohesively towards a common goal. Teams that fail to address barriers related to psychological safety will allow for an atmosphere of fear that lacks accountability. Finally, when members of the organization are unable to speak up and communicate effectively, collaborative efforts to identify problems and seek innovative solutions in line with the vision will be hampered. Therefore, it is incumbent for an organization's leadership to encourage a culture that breaks through these barriers, as Amber will now discuss.
Thank you, Dan. I will now begin my presentation on identifying and analyzing best practices to create high-performing teams, face-to-face teams. There are three concepts to consider when identifying and analyzing best practices to create high-performing face-to-face teams. The first concept to consider is to create a vision, Dyer 2014, Carter 2012. The second is creating a psychologically safe environment, and the third is creating small wins. Having a clear vision is important for any organization or team. Carter 2012 and Dyer 2014 express the need of having a vision that is clear and concise. A good vision can be communicated in 5 minutes or less. Carter 2012. Carter 2012 also states that having a vision helps create a picture for the future and provides guidance for decision making. Once all team members are on board with the vision statement, the team can create goals that are in alignment with the organization's vision. The vision helps clarify goals for the team. Once the team has created their goals, team members can discuss what roles, tasks, and projects will take place. Watkins, 2013, suggests team members decide on how they will communicate and to foster shared leadership, so the team members are able to monitor team progression. Shared leadership also allows for team members to encourage each other to reach their goal. A psychologically safe environment gives team members the confidence to speak up on issues that could affect team goals. Edmondson, 2012. Speaking up also creates confident team members who are more open to sharing their ideas. Speaking up also creates an environment where failed concepts are not punished but can be used as examples to learn from. Sharing knowledge and learning from mistakes are two key products of a psychologically safe environment. Edmondson, 2012. Having confidence and courage to make decisions for the best interest of the team is another key element of a psychologically safe environment. Cotu, 2013. When team members do not feel a part of the group or do not feel safe sharing their thoughts, it may lead to team members to act aggressively and proceed to make decisions for personal advancement instead of making decisions that have better outcomes for the group. TAM 2015 explains that it is important to manage this conflict and remove emotional response from the conversation so the team can move forward. While on the road to reach the team's overall goal, it is important to create short-term wins along the journey. Carter 2012, Cohen 2005, and Edwinson 2012. These quick wins are small milestones that can be used to build momentum and keep the energy alive. By creating these small wins, employees can feel good about the progress being made and may be rewarded for their effort. It is also a way to demonstrate to organization leaders that the team strategy is working and to keep them engaged. Pentland 2013 shares that communication is a key predictor of team success and identified 3 key communication dynamics, which include energy, engagement, and exploration. Energy is significant for face-to-face teams because it can show the level of interest that team members are feeling. Having team members who share the same energy will be more successful in reaching their goals. Working towards your goals as a team will require the 3 concepts discussed. Pentland 2013 also mentions how high-performing teams look to find connections and ideas outside of their team. Finding connections and getting ideas from outside sources can help teams as they begin the planning process. Another idea to keep in mind when building successful high-performing teams is to ensure that the leader is also modeling behavior that is in alignment with their vision. Grattan and Erickson, 2013. Teams will need a leader who is ethical and wants the group to succeed. Edmondson, 2012, page 24, says, learning in today's organizations involves what's called reciprocal interdependence, where back and forth communication and coordination are essential to getting the work done. A true statement for teams who want to reach their goals as high-performing teams.
Thank you, Amber. To conclude this presentation, please consider the following information when developing your virtual teams. You and your team will face unclear vision and goals, mistrust and miscommunication amongst the team members, lack of coordination and timing issues, and interpersonal conflict. To overcome these challenges, you and your team must establish a clear mission and identify complementary team members, maximize face time to build trust and respect, create a psychologically safe environment to support teamwork, and utilize technology to enhance effective collaboration. Thank you for your time.